Welcome to Intro to Histology, Epithelium, where today we are going to define epithelium and its classification. Epithelium is basically a sheet of cells that lines the surface as well as form glands. If it lines the surface, it's for absorption as well as protection against dehydration and abrasion. If it forms glands, it is for secretion of substances. And how we classify epithelium is we use two categories. The first is the number of layers, and the second is cell shape. And remember, these two categories are used together. It is a combination. So, let's start with the number of layers. If a epithelium is simple, which it means it is single layered, there's only a layer of cells. If it's stratified, it means there's multiple layers of cells. Notice how there's like 1, 2, and 3 layers of epithelium. And if it's pseudostratified, it means it's a single layer, but it looks like multiple layer. Pseudo means fake, so stratified means multiple layer. So it's a fake, multiple layered epithelium. So this is exactly what it looks like. So you can see here, there's the nucleus of the epithelium. It looks on top and bottom, top and bottom, and top and bottom. So it looks like there's 2 layers, but in actuality, it's only 1 layer because this is only one cell, one cell, one cell, one cell, one cell, and one cell, which makes one epithelium. So now that we have the number of layers aside, let's move on to the cell shape. Squamous cell basically refers to cell that has been squashed flat, as in the case of this image. If it's a cuboidal cell, it basically means it is a cube shape. So the cell is as tall as it is wide. If it's a columnar cell, it is column shape. So it's taller than it is wide. And another important thing to note here is that when we say a cell or an epithelium is stratified, we refer to the cell shape by the most superficial layer. For instance, in this image, you can see there's multiple layers of cell, so we know it is stratified. But when we account for the shape of the cell, we only look at the most superficial layer. And in this case, it looks like cuboidal. So therefore, this would be a stratified cuboidal epithelium. And we're going to discuss more on this further below. And just a reminder, the naming of the epithelium is a combination of both number of layers and cell shape. So this is a general overview of how we're going to go through the rest of the video. And just to help you guys remember the type of epithelium more simply, I've separated this into a few categories. So here we can see there's simple and there's stratified. Okay, so on the left side it's simple, on the right side it is stratified. And then here we have squamous, we have the cuboidal, and a columnar. And so as you go down, the cells, the shape, the height actually becomes taller. And then the motion is all the same, as in here you have the squamous, cuboidal, columnar, and same goes with here where you have squamous, cuboidal, and columnar. And this is just a way for you to memorize in the future. So let's start with simple squamous. So simple refers to 1 layer. Squamous is basically the shape of the cell, which is very thin. And so this adaptation basically helps in exchange of substances. So in the case of here, which is the lungs, or more specifically alveolus, it helps in exchange of gas. And if it's blood vessels, it helps in exchange of nutrients. So that's simple squamous. For simple cuboidal, the function is to secretion and absorption, and it's found in kidney tubules and glands. For the simple columnar, again, the function is for absorption, and simple columnar epithelium is usually found in the digestive organs. And if you recall your basic biology, you might remember something called villus. And this villus is usually found on the simple columnar epithelium. It's a sort of specialization, which is to increase the surface area for absorption. And then we have stratified squamous. So here I pointed to the mouth, or more specifically the inner of your mouth. So stratified refers to multiple layers, and squamous again is the shape of the cell, which is squashed flat. And this adaptation helps in protection against abrasion. And when we talk about stratified squamous, it's more appropriate to categorize it into keratinized layer and non-keratinized layer. So in non-keratinized layer, we talk about the inside of the mouth and the vagina. Whereas for the keratinized stratified squamous epithelium, we refer to the soles of the feet and the palm. Alright, next we have the stratified cuboidal. Its function is for secretion, and you can find it in the ducts of the sweat glands. As for stratified columnar, its main function is for secretion, and you can find it in the epididymis, the mammary glands, as well as the larynx. The larynx is basically an extension of the respiratory tract. So here we have two special cases which doesn't fall into any of these categories. So the first is pseudostratified. Pseudostratified is basically, as previously mentioned, it's a fake stratified, which means it's only one layer of epithelium. So here, again, you can count the number of cells. There's 1, 2, 3, all the way to 7. An example of pseudostratified epithelium would be the respiratory passages, which includes the nasal cavity and the trachea. And pseudostratified epithelium, they usually have structures called cilia on top of the cells, and these specialized structures helps in clearing the mucus and traps bacteria. Next would be transitional epithelium, which you can find in urinary bladder, and there's two states. That's why it's called transitional. So the relaxed state or the unstretched state can transition into the stretched state, and the stretched state can transition into the unstretched state. So in the unstretched state, you can see here there's multiple layers, a lot of layers actually, and because of the number of layers, it forms the mucosal folds. There's also binucleate cell. If you zoom in, there's two nucleus in one cell, as well as stratified cuboidal epithelium. And then we have the stretched state. So if it becomes stretched, you can see a lot of difference. The first thing you can see is that there's a lot less layers, and there's also no more folds. And if you zoom in, all the cells only have one nucleus, and therefore this is stratified squamous. And that is it for today's video. If you want to support this channel, leave a like and subscribe. Bye!